feet are a little suspect. They're not exactly in the most supporting shoes in the world. But let's see how she takes the club back. Again, way too far to the inside. See, that club's going way back behind her. It's getting a little bit stuck. And at this point here, the club should be more on the swing plane, which is kind of this line up this way a little bit. Okay, so let's continue on through to the swing. She's a little short. See, because it's so far back now, she's stuck. She hasn't had an opportunity to slide her left arm up her chest to her shoulder height. We'd like to at least get to shoulder height if we can. We're going to go down, turning into the shot, not bad. Turning into the shot, head staying down, pretty good. See how far inside of the ball the hands are? Remember where they were at setup? Quite a ways out from there. And now she's got it way in under. And that's because they were too far out to begin with. So we'll go back to that setup again. You can see at setup how stretched out her arms are. And then when we go back to the impact position, you'll see that right arm is going to be bent, pulled way inside. See that? Okay, so we got to get those arms long and more down at setup. Looking at this golfer setup, we can see the knees are a little too straight. It's hard to tell wearing pants, but they still look a little too straight. And the back is pretty straight up and down too. We'd rather see the back spine, the spine angle be up here to about 1 o'clock, and you can see that it's almost straight up and down on her back. So let's go ahead and watch the swing. We're seeing the takeaway that instead of, again, taking that left shoulder down the toe line, it's kind of moving out. The club is staying dead shut. So we're not getting any club head rotation on the way back. Still dead shut. Go to the top, kind of lose it there. A little bit of lifting. Actually, she's in a pretty good position right here. Head's down, the shoulders are down. Left knee is turned into the right knee. The only thing I'd like to see is just a little bit more flex in this knee here. So we're coiled up onto that back thigh. There goes more lifting. She should have stopped. A little phrase, stop while you're ahead. She was ahead back there. Starting back, dropping the club down into the slot and missing because she stood up so much. See that? It's very hard to get back down to that golf ball when you stood up so much. The arms will be hanging a little more downward. Looking at the yellow line, it's a little bit up high. Swing plane's good. Let's see if he stays on those planes right there on the takeaway. Lifting right away. It's, again, turning the shoulder rather than down the target line. It's almost all arms going back. Lifting quite a ways up out of the shot, even higher out of the shot. Back down to the ball, turning through it, dropping the club in. That's a pretty good position right there. The hands are a little high. Turn right into it. Not bad right there, but then he pulls across the ball abruptly. Doesn't quite get the club down to the level of the ball, but good leg action. The reason he's not going to be down to the ball is look how straight up and down his spine is compared to where he was at setup. Let's go back to the setup position. See how there he is there, and quickly move into impact. There he stood up right there, and now he's completely up and out of the shot. That's called pulling out of the shot. Well, we're going to have to guess where the ball is. Your photographer didn't notice the club sitting right there in front of him. What we see was a pretty good setup here. Let's watch the takeaway. Turning back nicely. Notice that the club is staying outside the hands. Could use still a little bit more press downward with the hands instead of lifting them so much. There is standing up. Notice again that dreaded right leg straightening right up again. We got to get rid of that. We're going to turn drop. See, he's down. There's where his over the top move happens right there. But he's got a nice flat lead wrist. Dropping the hands nicely here. Turns into the shot. See how he's turning into the shot? You even see his knee turning in. He could even do that a little bit more if he wanted to. Really drive that right knee into the left knee and go on right on through. And we see any ball contact here. Yeah, there it is. See the ball right there going off? Pretty nice. Good swing, bud. We see a pretty athletic setup here. Remember what we want to do is we want to have the left shoulder turned down on the toe line so that the hands can go straight back. So let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and draw in a line a little bit better on the club line there. That's a little above it. That's okay. Let's watch the takeaway now. Not bad. See, the club's getting a little low, and look at that. Look at that left knee, how it's moving out instead of turning in towards the right knee. That means we're actually shifting our weight to the front side, because as that left side gets lower, the weight has to go that way. Now both knees are squatting on the way back. See that? Big squat. I'm not sure why. Driving into it. Good drive into it right there. I like that move right there. That's pretty solid. Club is dropped to the inside, driving into it. Pretty good arm extension right there. That's actually a pretty good move. Maybe a little bit more right hip through would be good, because he's a little stuck until the finish. Kind of an idiosyncratic swing, but it seems to be working. One of the best parts in this setup is that you can actually see the lead arm on top of the trail arm. That's what we'd like to see most of the time. If you look right in here, see that arm is showing up. That means he's got a pretty good alignment going on right there. The right elbow's down to the ground and soft, and the left arm is nice and long. Let's go ahead and watch the takeaway here. Getting a pretty decent shoulder turn. I would like to see the toe rotating a little more upright there, coming around this way so the toe is up, of the club I mean. Get to about to there, about shoulder height. That's where we're going to ask him to stop his swing. Then he's just going to drop the club almost on that same line, right back on top of the golf ball using gravity. And then right at the bottom, he's going to accelerate through. A very, very usable swing. Not pretty. But then again, as we get a little older, sometimes all we want to do is hit the ball down the middle about 150 yards and be happy. And that's the swing that'll do that. I like the swing. Okay, a couple of things we can notice right away in this setup. Notice that the left shoulder is behind the right shoulder, kind of opened up, and that we have kind of a zigzag here in the lead arm. The lead arm needs to be nice and straight and pressed down. Also, you can see that the thumb of the right hand is on top of the club. We need to turn the right hand a little bit more. Let's go ahead and draw in the power line, we call it. That's the line we need to move into to make a good solid drive. Going back, a little bit of a sway, not too bad. Toe comes up, there goes the lift right there. You can see she's lifting up on that one. Pulled quite a bit away from the red line. Draws, and got the left arm is bent quite a bit. Let's see if she can get that back straight in the ground as she comes back to the golf ball. Good lateral movement there. Not a bad turn. Still a little late with the hips, but one of the better turns. Not bad. All right, we're beginning with a pretty good setup here. Let's go ahead and follow it through the swing. Look at the amount of movement we're getting sideways already on the takeaway. And very little shoulder rotation. The lead shoulder needs to rotate down to the ball on the takeaway. And we're not getting any shoulder rotation. All of our turn is coming from the waist. So we're not getting any rotation at all of the shoulders. At this point now, the shoulder should be pointing straight down at the golf ball. Now we'll turn back through to the impact position. And here we're seeing no weight transfer at all. Kind of scooping the ball, using his strength to hit a pretty solid shot, but there's no weight transfer. At this point now, we'd like to see the right hip, right knee, right shoulder, and right ear on that white line that's forward. This looks to be a pretty good setup. I'd like to see the right hand a little bit more on top, put the club more out in the fingers, but it's a pretty good setup. Let's see if he moves into the lead side or the red line on his forward swing. Taking the club back. Okay, getting some shoulder turn there. That's not bad. Pulling away a little bit, kind of too much lateral movement. Coming down to the ball. Hips are moving into the shot right there. Then he stops moving into it. Right up at this point, we'd like to see all of the left leg past the red line and the right leg moving into it so that he can finish more balanced. See how the right hip didn't quite make it all the way to the red line? So we got to get that turn, and there's where he loses his balance. Here we see the arms are hanging nice and freely from the shoulders. Pretty straight back, decent swing plane. Let's see if he stays on that swing plane. Camera moving a little bit. That's typical of me. The club's a little too far to the inside. It should never get behind your butt. It should be about where his hands are, actually. So that's going to create an over-the-top move. And we can get rid of the yellow line there because I've moved so much. But you can see that his hands are higher than they were at impact, but he's dropping the club nicely from the inside as much as he can and through it. Didn't quite make the contact because of that extra movement. See where the ball is way in on the hosel. That's because the hands are higher and the club is coming from the outside. Let's go ahead and watch this swing in slow motion. Turning back nicely. Could use that left shoulder a little lower. Turns into the shot. Very nice. What we see here is a pretty good use of rhythm and tempo, and bringing that club pretty much back to the impact position on the right line. A little over the top there, but he's going to drop it in as good as he can. Right there, he's dropping that club pretty much down onto that golf ball and through it. That was a pretty good swing. We'll take that all day long.